vaccination victory.
Months earlier than anyone expected.
When the president predicts shots for every adult American. Student debt struggle.
Very stressful, so many people to have this much debt.
The latest developments in the fight for loan forgiveness. And filling space.
2, 3.
A former astronaut and U.S. Senator for Florida taking one small step towards a new job. It's all coming up on Newsbreak.
Hello, South Florida. I'm Valeria Venturini, and today is Friday, March 19, 2021.
From the South Florida Media Network's Biscayne-based studios in North Miami, this is SFMN Newsbreak.
The President and Vice President sharing in Atlanta's anguish. President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris visit Atlanta today. They will be expressing sympathy for the families of 8 people who were killed in a shooting spree at 3 spas in the area. 6 of those killed were of Asian descent, so there are also concerns that race played a role in the murders.
Each of my daughters has a personal story about a very close friend that's gone through some terrible stuff just recently. Friends of my wife, I've got my youngest daughter is afraid to come visit us. Her best friend's mother was attacked at a convenience store.
Eileen Chao, former transportation secretary and wife of Mitch McConnell, condemned the violence. The trip was originally meant to boast about the recently approved $1.9 million stimulus package. And then there were 2. Only 2 more seats on the jury need to be filled before the trial of Derek Chauvin can begin in the death of George Floyd. And there are calls from the defense to move the trial out of Minneapolis. Derek Forgers from our partners at CNN is in Minneapolis this morning.
A lot of progress made in Thursday's jury selection. We know that 3 new jurors have been selected. Starting with juror number 10, that's been described as a white female in her 50s. She says she doesn't know the complete story between Derek Chauvin and George Floyd, and she wants to know more information about Chauvin's training. As for juror number 11, that's been described as a black female in her 50s or 60s. She says she has a relative that's a Minneapolis police officer, but she believes that some black people in the city have not been treated fairly in the criminal justice system. As for juror number 12, that's been described as a white female in her 40s. Now, she has somewhat of a negative impression of Derek Chauvin. So now we are 2 jurors away from completing this process. But the big question now will be what's going to happen Friday. That's when Judge Peter Cahill will decide whether or not to push back the date of the trial or relocate it to a different location. But as of right now, things are still on schedule for this trial to start on March 29th. In Minneapolis, Minnesota, I'm Daryl Forges.
Today, the White House expects to meet the president's goal of 100 million vaccines in arms in his first 100 days, and it comes 1 month early. With more vaccines on the way, President Biden keeps promise of having a vaccine for every adult in America by the end of May.
These steps put us on track to have enough vaccine supply for every adult American by the end of May. Months earlier than anyone expected.
And right on that path, Moderna is testing a new version of its vaccine with the hopes that it can be given in a single dose. The new trials are in the early stages. Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson will also test a new version of their vaccine. The Verge reported that the Biden administration will announce the nomination of former Florida Senator Bill Nelson to lead NASA today. Nelson, an astronaut himself, spent 6 days as a payload specialist on the Space Shuttle Columbia. He will be tasked with putting Americans back on the moon. NASA hopes to get back to our moon by 2024. Disappointment for those hoping student loans forgiveness would be part of the stimulus bill, but they reason to be optimistic about the future. That's still ahead, and so is this story.
Every day that goes by where the entire population hasn't been vaccinated, you're worried.
Elected leaders weighing in on both sides of the issue over whether masks should be required of those who are already vaccinated. Newsbreak will be back in 2 minutes.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
You could be spreading the coronavirus without realizing you have it. So follow guidance from authorities where you live and do your part. It's important to limit in-person interaction with anyone outside of your immediate household, but phone and video chat are safe ways to connect. It's also important to limit any social gathering. This advice applies to people of any age, including teens and younger adults. Visit coronavirus.gov for the latest information.
I'm Jenny Garth, and as a mother of 3, I know kids worry about a lot of things. Getting enough food to eat shouldn't be one of them. But here in America, that is a real worry for 1 in 5 children. This is unacceptable, and something Feeding America is working to solve. Through a nationwide network of food banks, Feeding America serves virtually every community in the United States, including yours. See how you can help your community. Visit feedingamerica.org. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're Feeding America.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driver reaction and response time, which can be really dangerous. He's here. He's here. Wait. What? I can't drive. Why? Mine. Oh.
The student debate continues this morning. Student loan borrowers didn't see their debate canceled in the last stimulus package, but other provisions have them hopeful. Many are anxious about what happens when a break on payments and interest expires this fall. The network's Elena Acevedo looks at the debate over student loan forgiveness and what borrowers should watch for next.
Student loan forgiveness is not in the $1.9 trillion COVID relief package signed by President Biden, but advocates are hopeful.
It can be very stressful, so many people to have this much debt and for many to not be making any progress paying it down.
The law does include a broad tax exemption that would cover the discharge of federal and private student debts through the end of 2025. Natalia Abrams of the advocacy group Student Debt Crisis sees widespread debt cancellation could be a stimulus of its own.
The domino effect has been that when folks have high student debt payments, $1,000, $2,000 per month, they can't buy houses, they can't buy cars, they aren't able to make small purchases to help that small business out.
Critics of loan forgiveness point to studies like a Goldman Sachs analysis that found forgiving $10,000 per borrower would add less than 0.1% to U.S. GDP. Others argue more cancellation than that could reward too many borrowers who don't need help. Ashley Harrington of the Center for Responsible Lending says it could level the playing field for those who do, especially borrowers of color who lean more on loans for their higher education.
There are so many Black and brown families who make a middle-class income but are unable to live a middle-class lifestyle because the student debt is holding them back from doing all the things we'd associate with middle class, right? Buying a house, starting a business, saving for retirement.
More than 45 million Americans carry student loan debt. Helena Acevedo, South Florida Media Network.
A major mask debate in D.C. and beyond. Elected leaders and health experts taking side on whether masks should be required for those who have been vaccinated.
You want people to wear a mask for another couple years. No. You've been vaccinated and you parade around in 2 masks for show.
No, masks are not theater. Masks are protective.
Every day that goes by where the entire population hasn't been vaccinated, you worry.
Miami Mayor Francis Suarez is one of many local leaders who have pushed for a mask mandate. He has also urged and continuing sensible local measures to keep numbers down. That's all the time we have for Newsbreak. I'm Valeria Venturini. Get more news anytime at sfmn.fiu.edu.